Hey YouTube, Devin here with Comics and Stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are doing okay. Today for me has been a little odd. So as you know, I live here in Seattle, Washington, and we were supposed to get hit by one of the biggest storms in the last 50 years, and it just kind of seemed like a rainy and windy day to me. So, I mean, it was supposed to be like 50-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't step outside, but anyway, so EJ and I have spent the entire day inside our tiny apartment, and I have spent the whole day trying to read through my backlog of about 3 months worth of comic books. So it was about double this when I started. So hooray! I'm finally reading them, putting them away, and I've been backing up my computer, and lo and behold, I forgot that it was Friday. So here I am, about 6 o'clock, ready to film, and so now we're at where we're at. Cool. Okay, so if you looked at today's title, it was different types of nerd gatherings, and you may have noticed that it said Nerd Novelty instead of Comic Sense 101. So let me just quickly explain that. So Nerd Novelty is going to be a new section on the channel. Comic Sense 101 is something that I have used to kind of convey information that I think is relative and necessary for somebody to get into the comic book industry, and I'll continue to add to it. But things like how to buy comic books on eBay, or how to, what comics to invest in, how to begin reading comics. Things like that I think are really important for people who are new to the community. Nerd Novelty is just kind of like fun facts and things that you may want to know but aren't necessary. So that's really it. So I'll just be talking about different types of nerd gatherings that you may or may not know about. Again, a lot of this stuff is for noobs. If you're a seasoned comic collector or comics enthusiast, you will probably already know a lot of these. But first and foremost, you have the General Comic-Con. That's the one that everybody knows about, Emerald City Comic-Con or San Diego Comic-Con. It's more like a multimedia pop culture convention. You have your celebrities, you have your exclusive toys and variant covers of comics. You have action figure dealers, rare comics dealers, toy dealers. In general, you have art dealers. Kind of everybody goes to your General Comic-Con. Now, before there was the General Comic-Con that you know and love, there's actually something here's like a subcategory now of the original Comic-Con. So the original Comic-Con started back in the 80s. These were generally small events, groups of maybe 100 people, maybe a little under 200 people would get together and just trade comic books. No action figures, no indie press, nothing like that, just comic books. And those have now become something called comic swaps. So comic swaps are, they're still around, they're just a little more scarce. There's one down in Portland, Oregon that's particularly well known that I have yet to have made my way to, but it's called Frankenstein's Comic Book Swap, and apparently that's one of the best ones like in the region to go. So whenever I go, I'll give you guys a review. But comic swaps are now a mini side category of just your general pop culture Comic-Con, and that is for just comic book dealers and collectors, whereas multimedia cons are for everybody. Moving on, so if comic books aren't your thing, there's also anime specific conventions. So like here in Seattle, for example, we have SakuraCon. So at anime conventions, there's no comic books, there's no like Western or American toys. It's all things that have to do with Japanese culture. So manga, anime, Japanese food, clothing, style, accessories, fashion, whatever, panels, culture, tutorials, whatever, there's a lot of that. So here in Seattle we have SakuraCon. So last year we had a big Wajimaya booth, and Wajimaya, for those of you who don't know, is like a large Japanese grocery store, but they were just selling Japanese food, candies, soft drinks, things like that. You can get that, walk around the convention. You can buy your scale model Gundam toys, which are the coolest things ever. Kotobukiya was there selling their stuff. So that's an anime con. And then you also have the same thing for games. So you have your game-specific conventions like PAX, but then there's also tabletop gaming conventions like Dragon Con, and then there's like mixes, whatever. PAX is more of a mix than just video gaming, but there's also some tabletop gaming and card gaming as well. But then you can also get into fandom-specific things such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Conventions and Pokemon conventions and Magic conventions for specific card gaming. It really depends on what you're into and what you look for. So you can always just Google them and find the ones that are local to your area. After gaming, you can also get into toy conventions. So For example, again, here in Seattle, we have BrickCon. It's a 2-day long mini convention here at the Seattle Center, I believe. I'm not sure if they're going to move this year, but it's 2 days of just straight Legos, vintage Legos, Lego collectors, Lego masters, showing off their stuff. You can go there to buy vintage Legos, and it's awesome. I'm currently looking for an original unopened Lego AT-AT from the Star Wars run, because that's what I've always wanted since I was a kid, and I'm going to get one, and I'm going to build it on this channel. But anyway, so you can look for toy-specific cons. I know there's also vintage toy shows, and then there's, I guess, just like action figure swaps, and then there's also auctions. So that's pretty cool. I really actually like some of the toy shows around here. The Lego one is by far probably my favorite. There was also recently like a vintage toy like exhibit thing over at the Mohai thing down in South Center. Anyways, if you're not from Seattle, you don't even know what I'm talking about, so forget it. Moving on, I have my little list here. So you can also do there's also like genre specific conventions. So you have sci-fi cons, fantasy conventions, horror conventions. So if you guys listen to my podcast with my podcasting partner Steven, he was talking about how he went to I think it was, oh god, I can't remember what it was. I'll put the name of it in the corner here, and I'll see if I can put a link to the website for his horror convention in the description below. But that one apparently is really popular. I looked at them earlier, and they have I think 5 or 6 different shows. So some of them can be pretty cool. And then again, fandom specific, you can go to Star Wars Celebration. There's also a Supernatural Con, which is cool. You also have Lord of the Rings conventions, etc. And then let's see here. Let me look at my list. It's really kind of it. You also have vintage shows that aren't necessarily nerd related, but that's where you're going to find a lot of nerd memorabilia, Superman action figures, Batman dolls, things like that, just from the 50s and 60s. So vintage shows are also a good thing to look into. So if you're like a nerd and you're looking for just like certain things to get into, whether you want to go see the latest Nintendo game at PAX, or you want to go see the newest exclusive at Emerald City, or you want to, just get some good old-fashioned rare comics at a comic swap, these are kind of all your options. A lot of the ones that I talked about, I'll put links to their websites in the description below. And I hope this was kind of just like a fun video for a lot of you guys if you're new to the comic industry. If you are well seasoned, well then I'm sure that you've probably clicked off this video by now and you're like, what is this guy talking about? If you have any questions though, put it in the comments below, share, like, all that stuff, and then make sure you hit the subscribe button. And then it is Friday, so make sure you check out my website above me here to see a review on an independently published comic book. I haven't decided what this week is going to be, but I'm going to get right on it after this. So thanks for tuning in, YouTube. I will see you Monday.